Hello everyone and welcome back to the next episode of the Road to the Master series. This is the episode number 63, in which I will cover the rounds number 4 and 5 from the Chess Republic Team Championship. In the round number 4, we as a team got paired against one of the best teams in the tournament, and I myself got paired against an international master, Gnojek Petr, rated over 2400, so finally a worthy opponent, as they say. At the same time though, I know that I've been saying that this is the problem of mine. I felt somewhat unmotivated because I knew that going into this tournament I would have to score like 6.5 points out of 7 games in order to get the FM title, and as of now I was on 2 out of 3, so even with a win with black pieces with the international master, I knew that I would not achieve my goal for the tournament, so I would say that the goal was unrealistic and my approach was not great, but here we are playing black pieces, not motivated. Let's see how it went. I opted for d4, d5, and then went into the, as we know, triangle Slav more or less setup. The idea is that if my opponent develops normally as he normally does, which is knight c3, I will take the pawn and then try to play b5, hold on to the pawn, and in the main line I am unable to do so, but I am getting a playable position. What is it? a4, kind of stopping b5, bishop b4, trying to pin the knight and play b5 eventually anyway, bishop d2, covering the pin, a5, solidifying the bishop, e3, hitting the pawn, b5 as I try to protect it, ab, as you can tell, if I take, knight can take, so I have to take the knight first, and after bishop c3, cb, it seems like I have one more pawn. However, after b3, I am unable to really cover the c4 weakness, so instead of doing that, I develop the bishop to b7, bc, b4, bishop b2, knight f6, and this is somewhat a starting position of this variation, in which I, let's say, forfeited central pawns for the two passers connected ones on the queen side, and it creates a very interesting dynamic for the middle game. My opponent chose c5. I would say that this is not the main line, but I saw him play that, so I had some variations in here. As of now I have a clear choice. I just castled, my opponent played bishop b5, so interesting dynamic. We'll be fighting over the light squares around our pawns. Either I will blockade his or he will block mine. We'll see. From what I remembered, after bishop b5, bishop c6 was a desired move, as I tried to exchange the bishop, because if the bishops are exchanged, and it happens so after bishop a4 takes and my opponent took with a rook, I am able to plant the queen to block one pawn, plant the knight to block second pawn, and the other knight to block the third pawn. So I am creating very nice blockade. My pawns are also blocked too, but objectively I should not be worse, at least. On top of that, I knew that after bishop takes a4, queen takes is the main line. So when I saw the rook takes a4, first of all, I was unhappy with my preparation, because it's a natural looking move, right? And just trying to take with a rook, create a space for the other heavy piece on the a file and so on, but I haven't checked it. At the same time, I knew that if it was a viable option, I would check it. So I was unhappy and happy about it, meaning that I knew that I should not be worse, or even maybe a little bit better, but I didn't know what to do. Thankfully, queen d5 followed by knight c6 and knight e4 are very logical moves. And after rook c1 as an attempt to cover the pawn, because as you may have seen, knight c5 is incoming, I have yet one more waiting move, but also, you know, solidifying, which is f5. And now after knight e1, I have a what we call critical moment. I believe 1 or 2 moves ago I offered a draw to my opponent, knowing that I should be maybe slightly better, trying to understand what his idea for the game is. As you can tell, he declined, therefore he is there to win the game, but I felt like I am at least not worse in here. The problem is though that I am not so familiar with those type of structures, because it is the, I believe, second time I am playing this. Therefore, let's say natural ideas that would come to other players are not so natural to me. So in here I have two options. Either I should continue my play in the center of the board or on the king side, let's say, so either f or maybe e5, something like this, Or I can obviously stand still, that's also the option, but the other one I was having on my mind was an initiative on the queen side. And apparently this is the one I went for, and this is the worst out of all three, because I should have just perhaps waited, like, I don't know, play in h6, f3, go back with the knight. If e4 is prepared, go back with the queen, maybe remaneuver the knight there. The point is that thanks to this blockade on the light squares, I don't really have that much to worry about, and if so, I'm fine. At the same time, I can try to be proactive there and go for the e5 move, and I actually saw this, but I was thinking to myself, oh, funny looking move, haha, because after f3 I can just take on d4, and if my knight is accepted, I can take and queen goes somewhere. I believe I saw this move, and d3. And the idea is that I am without a knight, but for it I got 2 pawns, and the white pieces are somewhat uncoordinated, but I felt like, well, funny looking line, but without a piece it might be hard to continue. Apparently though, as you can tell, I am winning objectively, because this uncoordination of the opponent's pieces is so vital to the evaluation that I should be just crushing through with queen b3, a4 ideas, with double stacking the rooks on f5, like plenty of choices. My opponent cannot do basically anything. So I saw the line, but I just thought about it like, oh, funny one, 15 seconds, that's it. But if I, let's say, instead of 15 seconds, spend 15 minutes on it, I would perhaps play it. And then, if so, e5 is a very powerful weapon. I am willing to take on d4 so that the pawn on d4 will be a weak one. I can try to push it with the knight, with the rook, with the queen, and so on. f4 is also in the air, so plenty of choices for me to try to continue initiative. So yeah, the lesson is to be taken now that whenever I feel intuitively that something is funny looking, maybe good, I should just try to check it to the very end. Why did I say that? I went for rook f to b8 move, so completely different, as you can tell, with the idea that I will be willing to push b3, play rook b4, kick away this rook, play a4, a3, and so on. And what I didn't know beforehand, and I now know after the game, is the, let's say, rule of thumb that you can apply into those type of structures, which is, if you push any of the pawns, either you are winning thanks to the fact that they are, pushing through and winning the game for you, or you will just simply lose them and get a losing position. There is nothing in between. While I myself thought that, okay, I will push it, we'll see what's going on, but there is no coming back from it. What I mean is, after f3, knight f6, queen c2 was played, even provoking me to play b3, and I was more than happy to do it, because even after like queen c4, I would consider such move. But after queen c2, I was more than happy to do so. Queen c3 was on the board, and even though computer still likes my position, it's becoming harder and harder for me to navigate it properly. And during the game, I felt like my opponent is playing this inaccurately, because he allowed me to play b3 with a tempo. Now he is playing to c3 so that I am allowed to play knight b4 with the idea of e4 on a2. So I was happy. But apparently after rook a1, knight a2, queen d2, all of a sudden my pieces are not so well coordinated, and I really have to be precise in what I'm going to do. And once more, the best way to go about the position would be to just stand still. Play like rook b5, solidifying this pawn, then maybe drop back the queen here or there, maybe remaneuver the knight, don't allow any counterplay on this pawn, on this knight, and so on. But I unfortunately went for it all, let's say, and played rook b4 with a strategically long-term not good position because of the tactical, let's say, miscalculation that I've had, because the idea is that usually when you have such connected passes, you don't want to double the pawns, right? But I felt like after this, if I manage to play queen c4, knight d5, I'm on the verge of winning the game, because, if the knight moves, I have queen c2, trying to, let's say, exchange the queens, undouble the pawns, promote them even further, and so on. So I felt like my activity is over the roof, let's say. But I have miscalculated the fact that after knight d3, knight b4 is a possibility, because the rook on a8 is not, let's say, hanging, but it would deflect my queen, so that I really have to take care about not only the rook but also the pawn. And if I do that and I play rook b8, there is knight e5 stopping my queen from entering the game as I wanted. And now all of a sudden I don't have this active move, this one, that one, and all that stuff. I am kind of passive, stuck with the doubled pawns, and the position is no longer looking that great. So going back a little bit, first of all, as I've said, rook b4 was a very risky move, and on top of that, actually I could have taken with the knight, but I spotted that bishop c3 is incoming, and even if I go down to c6, there is triple attack to the pawn, and I didn't, calculate any further, while in reality bishop takes a5 is not the good move according to the computer and even human, I guess, because if I exchange, like, let's say everything here, my b pawn is very powerful one. I can play b2, threatening with promotion, and if the queen goes to b5, I'll have queen a2, and if my king escapes the checks to the king side, I should be winning. So once more, a variation that would have been easily calculated if I attempted the calculation, but unfortunately I finished it right about here, and I said, okay, without this pawn I am not that great, and on top of that I don't even have to promote the pawn to be okay. If I fit again, using this time the pin for my advantage would be also good enough. So yeah, plenty of miscalculations or even no calculation on my behalf, so I felt completely off during this game, and perhaps, as I've said at the beginning, it was due to the lack of motivation. So this is something to work on. So yeah, after AB, knight d3, rook b8, knight e5, I knew that my position is not the greatest straight away. I attempted rook d8 with hope that my opponent will blunder something along the d file, and he kind of did, because he played queen d3, and I can take, right? If he takes, I take, and I'm more than happy. However, very tricky move from my opponent, because if I now take on e5, he will take on b3, so my queen is under the attack, the e3 pawn is protected, my knight is lost, and my b4 pawn perhaps will be lost shortly too. So yeah, this was a very nice attempt of my opponent. So if I go here, he takes, and I should be lost. For that reason, I decided to include move like knight c3 first, so that if opponent takes, I will take now, so that if he takes, once more it's a good situation for me. At the same time though, once more he will not take on e5, he will take on b4, and after queen d5 I was hoping that maybe I will be able to get this pawn still on the board, but obviously it's not happening. Rook b1, rook b8, rook takes b3, I am 2 pawns down, the position is simply lost, so I got completely outplayed during the middle game, but not thanks to the fact that my opponent was an international master showcasing his skills. It was mostly to the fact that I outplayed myself. I did not calculate properly. I did not calculate that much overall, to be honest, and yeah, very frustrating that I missed a chance to get a very, at least good game, and maybe very good result. So this is it. Obviously, from this point onwards, I can still fight, because I still kind of have the blockade on the light square, so I continued with queen b7. For a second, I thought that after knight d5 I'm winning the material because of the pin and pressure, but rook b2 is on the board, so that after knight d5 bishop can just drop back to c3, protecting the rook attacking here. So after rook to b2 I played queen a8, queen a3, trying to exchange the pieces. I obviously avoid that, but after bishop d2 I exchange the rooks, following the rule that with the queens on the board, knight is cooperating a little bit better than the bishop, so I was thinking, okay, let's just exchange the rooks, maybe it will favor me, at least a little bit. After those moves I planted the knight on d5, queen b3, king f7, king f2, queen a6, trying to enter the game from this or that diagonal or file, let's say, queen c2, queen c6, queen c4, so my opponent kind of outplayed me in a sense that I no longer have either this or that move. I don't have that much to do, so I just played simply h6, king e2 was played, I drop back with the knight so that both e4 and d5 are taken care of, so my opponent cannot really break through yet, and for that reason he decided to maneuver the bishop to e5, so that maybe he will be able to exchange the knight and then start pushing the pawns when my knight is not protecting the squares anymore. But after bishop e1, g5, bishop g3, I've spotted that after knight d5, this bishop maneuvering all around did not accomplish much, and my knight, with the inclusion of the move f3, is hitting this pawn, and if I somehow will manage to enter the game through B or A files, you know, maybe my queen with the knight will cooperate nicely enough to create some counterplay. So after bishop e5, queen b7, my opponent didn't really have to, but kind of it was advised for him to play queen c2. And all of a sudden I have some tricks. For example, I have queen b5, king f2, the only move apparently, and I have something funny looking like queen f1, for example. So that if my opponent takes, I take the pawn on e3 that I've said was a weak one, and then thanks to the fork I will be getting the queen back. The problem is that if I had enough time, perhaps I would be able to create enough of a blockade. So just jump back here, 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 and then the fact that I am without a pawn may not be that important because you know, this pawn is not going anywhere and so on, but I don't have time for it. The opponent's king goes further. If I go back, he will just start kicking me away, pushing the pawn and so on. And if I decide to go after the kingside pawns, once more I would be just too slow because opponent will not push the pawn further since now I am blocking. He will add his king, go there, and only then start pushing. So I was calculating it even while being quite low on time, so that I was trying to figure out whether or not I have some drawing chances in this endgame, but I decided, okay, I don't have those. So even though the move itself was tempting by the looks of it, I didn't go for it, but I went for knight b4, hitting the queen, maybe preparing some knight d3 checks or knight c2 checks and so on. My opponent replied with queen c3, I went back, he went here, and at first I felt like I might be having some chances thanks to the queen b1 idea, so that later on, if he, let's say, wastes a move, I have a check, and if he goes down, I may, okay, h3 was actually a good move. So let's imagine he wastes a move. I have a check. If he goes down, I have perpetual most likely, and if he goes up, I have knight takes e3, hitting there, like threatening with checkmate, right? Everything's fine. I just forgot that after a check, if I went there, I felt like I'm winning because there are no more checks. But obviously there is on g7, right? So yeah, I've missed that from the distance, and therefore I went back with the knight and allowed queen a3, and only now I've spotted that, okay, well, on g7 there is a check, so I had to go queen g6 as of now, but my opponent did not stop from playing queen a7. Queen a7, I gave a check. The problem is now that after king g3, once more if I take, I am checkmated first, so I cannot take, I need to keep checking my opponent, and after f4 check, he takes, and now plays king to h3, leaving myself without a check. That's the problem. And queen g7 is incoming. I cannot really stop it. I might try knight f6, but then queen e7 is on the menu, let's say, so it would not help me out. I played queen c2 out of just lack of moves, and after queen g7 here, I got checkmated. So I would say that my opening preparation worked rather well. I got myself a playable position, interesting, dynamic, objectively even better with black pieces against better opponent. Like, what else can I achieve out of the opening, right? But then in the middle game, I was unfamiliar with the position, and instead of, you know, taking my time trying to get used to it and find the best ideas, I was unable to do so, and lack of motivation did not allow me to calculate properly, and so on, so on, so on. The domino effect kicked in, and I lost the game that easily should not have been lost, let's say. And this is it. Chess are brutal, and you really have to put your 100% in if you don't want to lose the game. I didn't do that this time, so I guess a loss is a deserved one. Our team, thankfully though, did not lose a match, and yeah, we are still in contention for the top places. This is round number 4. Even though I have 2 out of 4 points, my team had 4 out of 4 wins, so pretty amazing stuff. And yeah, trying to bounce back myself and help the team. I was heading into the afternoon round number 5. So 3, 2, 1, let's go into the analysis of the round number 5. In this round I got paired with Matthias Paseka, against whom I've played, I believe, 3 years back. He was at the same rating, however then he was very young junior player who just rose like over 300 rating points. So even though at the time he was higher rated than myself, I considered myself a favorite, and I indeed won a game with black pieces. Here we are 3 years later, my opponent with similar rating. I actually improved from that time a little bit. So you may say that, okay, he did not progress within those 3 years, but I would say that he just is playing much better. He just did not deserve the rating 3 years back. Now his rating is well deserved, so I was expecting somewhat a equal game, but thanks to the fact that I won against him, thanks to the fact that I had white pieces, I was hopeful to do something good. Let's see how did the game went. I opted for e4, finally e4 on the menu on the move number 1, c5, knight f3, d6, and I expected the game to go into the knight of Sicilian, which we have on the board. Funnily enough, we played knight of Sicilian also with the opposite colors those 3 years ago. In here I decided to go for bishop e3, same as my opponent 3 years ago, e5, knight b3, bishop e6, and instead of choosing the usual f3 setup, I chose h3 this time, the variation that some of my friends showed me some time ago, and I decided, okay, let's test it out. I have like 1 or 2 ideas maybe in it, so I felt like, okay, maybe it will be enough. My opponent played bishop e7, natural move, queen f3, knight b2 d7, natural move. However, I knew that it might be somewhat inaccurate because in some of the variations, if I start pushing the g-pawn, this knight would be having a good square to retreat to d7, let's say, and now it's blocked by the knight. And also in some other variations, sometimes bishop has to go back this way or that way. Once more it will be blocked. So, I wasted no time and I pushed g4 with the threat of g5, therefore h6 was played, I castled b5, and as of now, as I've said, knight d5 is on the menu. If it wasn't for this knight, black could have taken with the knight, and after ed, bishop would be able to retreat. Since the knight is there, and since I'm hitting this one and so on, opponent is advised to take the knight on d5, but has to do so with the bishop, so he does that. I took, he played queen c7, I played a calm looking move, king b1, rook c8, hitting the c2 pawn, c3, knight b6, and at this point, let's say I had a choice what to do. I can play a bishop g2, over solidifying this pawn, let's say. I might go for some bishop c1, in advance going away from the knight c4 attack, or I can start pushing the pawn with h4, or I can start pushing the pawn with the rook g1 continuation. Plenty of options, all of which seemed quite nice to me. I played h4, the most natural way of playing, and if my opponent castles ever, I am having a blast. I am basically checkmating him in a short time. I am playing g5, if he takes, I take, open h-file, amazing stuff. So this variation is good thanks to this exact reason. The black king perhaps will stay in the center, and I really couldn't find any move for my opponent. And I was having a blast, all the time on the clock because I was still kind of in my prep, like everything perfect. I just went around the playing hall and all that. And when I came back, I spotted very strange move because my opponent took on d5. And it's like, why would he do that? Did he think that his position is so bad that he is forced to go into such position in which he is, points-wise getting 6 points because rook and a pawn is 6 and 2 knights also add to 6 points, and he wants to continue this position? I was like, no, it cannot be possible. And apparently, after knight b5, rook d5, he can first of all pin my heavy pieces on the diagonal, so perhaps queen c6 would be played, hitting my rook. I can only protect it by bishop g2, and now e4, breaking the connection between my pieces. And apparently I am in big trouble because queen d1 does not help. My opponent can simply take the rook, and even if I take, voila, I am an exchange down. For what? For nothing, basically, right? So yeah, it took me by surprise very much, and apparently this is a good move for black. He just takes my pawn and I cannot do much about it. Funnily enough, I was so frustrated that I was thinking, okay, maybe I can sacrifice my queen somehow. So I was thinking about rook d5, queen c6, bishop g2, e4, queen f5, another attempt to, let's say, protect the rook. An idea was that if queen takes now, I have queen c8, and if knight takes, I have bishop e4. So g6 is the move to play, and I have, no, not rook, I have this, here, and I have bishop and the knight for the queen, so not much, but inspired by analysis of the round number 2. If you haven't seen it, please check out yesterday episode. I was thinking maybe 2 light pieces are enough for a queen, And they are not enough, but as you can tell, they are close to be enough because the evaluation is only -1. So black holds the advantage, and I knew that I cannot be that worse. The problem is that thanks to the fact that b4 is on the board sometime, g5 or h5, meaning that the pawn structure is not solidified, I was worried that the queen will show its power later on in the game, even though as of now I should not be looking that bad. So overall I decided, okay, stop being crazy. I know that, I've lost one round, I drew the two previously, so I'm in a bad mood, but I don't have to sacrifice a queen just to, make it up. So instead of that, I decided to go for the simpler but calmer and objectively the best route, which is g5, trying to hit the knight while maintaining this pressure. Therefore, my opponent is forced to take on e3. I take, he takes, I take, he takes, I take. He goes back, I check, he covers so that he protects the pawn, and yeah, we got into this position. Which I still evaluated as promising for myself, even though I just blundered the pawn. Apparently it opens up the d-file, it opens up some of the light squares for my bishop, so I knew that I cannot be that much worse if I am worse at all. And the question is though, how do I continue my initiative? And this is something that I am struggling with and I would like to put more emphasis on in my training in the future weeks, because I am not that able to put the pressure with when there is nothing specific, like here and there some breakthrough, because in here I have just long-term compensation. Simple as that. I don't have anything to go for the throat, I don't have checkmate patterns, I don't have sacrifices, I don't have anything concrete. I just have one less pawn, but for the long-term initiative. I don't have to go for it all. And yeah, it's something I have to learn about, because overall, because I was, looking for the kill, in the end I went for the bishop h3 move with the hopes of playing rook f1 and maybe sacrificing in some variations here, like plenty of crazy lines. While in reality I should have settled for g6, which I didn't like because of knight f6 and like, so what? Yeah, nothing. You just take, then develop the bishop here maybe, and you just play it out. King is in the corner, sorry, in the center, bishop is immobilized. This pawn will never advance because this is the additional pawn that black has, right? Cannot move, and you just play it out. Queen h1 with the ideas to go through this diagonal, queen h3 to go this way, maybe the remaneuvering of the knight. Plenty of choices, but long term. And I wasn't having none of that, I wanted to go for it all, and that's why this position started to decline steadily, unfortunately. Bishop h3 was not the way to go, as I've said. The g6, bishop d3 was much better. My opponent now played queen c6, and not only I've spent a lot of time on bishop h3, now I've spent a lot of time on the next move and on the next move, because I was trying to make something out of nothing, out of thin air, and it didn't exist. Any king attack did not exist. Okay, anyway, I went with queen h7. I wanted to control as many light squares as possible. Also, I was, hoping that my opponent would play g6, trying to stop my g6, because then rook f1 is on the board, queen d5, I can take, and go through my opponent's camp, for example. So this is something I was hoping for, but my opponent did not play g6. If I don't play it, he will not play it too. Rook c7, very important move, going away from the pin, solidifying f7 in the near future, and I am more and more out of, let's say, ideas. Played rook f1 anyway, queen d5, interesting choice, solidifying f7, looking at all those light squares, so whenever I move any of my piece, the queen might go into my camp, let's say, so the dynamic switches a little bit, unfortunately. I went with queen c2, I figured out, okay, my opponent will not blunder, I guess, so I can just retreat. And now g6 happens, so two moves too late for me, unfortunately, to make anything happen. And yeah, as you can tell, my initiative kind of slowed down. I just had queen there. Opponent's pieces were uncoordinated. As of now, my queen is passive here. Opponent's pieces got activated a little bit. So all in all, I felt like I am not that great anymore. But I'm, I am keeping fighting. Bishop g2, queen e6, queen d1, trying to get the control over this square. Knight b6, rook f6, since the square was given to me, I will happily take it. And after queen c4, this just shows how badly I was playing the whole tournament. I was thinking that this move is impossible because after knight a5, I am kind of catching the queen because it cannot go there really, because I would play like here and then exchange or something. You know, c5 is the only option. It cannot go there, 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 or there. I just forgot that there is also h4 square, first of all, and I was thinking that okay, it will be a draw. Also, there is the pawn hanging. So, calculation speaking, I mean, it was below my level, below any standard that I should be at. Thankfully, my opponent went to c8, so a little bit more passive, and I believe I've missed my best chance now to remaneuver my knight, because all in all, the rook is somewhat active, the bishop is okay along the light squares, queen is, you know, doing her best, being there, and so on, but the knight is doing nothing, and it was the time to remaneuver it, to d2, to e4, to hit there, to threaten with this and all that stuff. I just played queen f1, not only not inviting more pieces that I really need to continue my initiative, but also blundering one more thing, which is knight c4. I knew that this might be a threat in some variations, but I undervalued it, let's say, and this I missed, and I'm not even sure like what is the exact variation I've missed. I believe it was bishop d5 that I wanted to play, and I forget that this my opponent can simply take, because I felt okay, I take here, you know, here, and I'm checkmating, but well, the queen is under the attack, right? And if so, after rook f7, I am hit there, I am without the bishop, finito. So yeah, once more tactical omission, and with that, after knight c4, the problem is that I have just invited the knight with a tempo to the game, and if we are playing dynamic position, I mean, each tempo is very important, right? So that's the problem, and if so, bishop d5 cannot be played. I had to settle for bishop h3 instead, so that if my knight, if the knight takes now only 3, the difference is that I will be playing bishop takes a6, not f7, so a better version for me. But after bishop h3, queen b7 happened, still my hit there, queen is, you know, activating and so on. I played there, queen a7, and I've decided to go around, let's say, the block, go here, 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 maybe create something out of the blue, but obviously it will not work that greatly. Queen h1, bishop g7 hitting the rook, queen h7, not really resigning from the attack, because if my opponent takes, I'm actually winning, as you can tell, because after this and that, the checkmate is there, apparently, so I was really hoping that my opponent would blunder like it, but it does not happen, and my opponent played king f8 first, very important move, actually the only one, but if you think about it, there are no alternatives really. And I played in here with 1 minute on the clock a move that is a crazy one, not calculated greatly, for the like 5th time in the game and the 8th time during this episode, and it's knight d4. Why? Well, threat is there, right? And the idea of mine was that if my knight is taken, at least I don't have this weakness that can be taken too, because otherwise, like, what can I play? Really, realistically, I don't know. This move is incoming, or this one, like, opponent can choose whatever I'm losing. So I wanted to play here, so that after takes, if my opponent will allow me to plant my bishop on d5 and let's say play something like this, all of a sudden I have this move. Takes and checkmate. If not takes, I have created some, you know, pressure to the g7, g8 squares, and I am having yet another trick up my sleeve, and I am okay. What's the problem once more? Well, after bishop d5, which actually happened on the board, opponent obviously will not waste a move like this. Funnily enough, he has some amazing choice. He had some amazing choice at this point, because I just played knight d4 takes. He could have played queen d4 takes, knight d2 here. Pretty stuff. Obviously missed that too, but he did so too, because he he went for the human line here, and I've missed that after check. I was thinking only about this, and then the check is not here, queen c1. Then this threat might be also still a viable option, or this actually, and so on. But I've missed that after king c2, knight e3 check is incoming, king d2, knight d5 here, and then my rook is lost. I lost the bishop, and after like 2 more moves, I finally resigned without a knight, without few pawns, with weak king. Disastrous game. I've missed, I believe, even more things than in the morning round, so just a terrible day. 0 out of 2. Once more, team is, carrying myself, not the other way around, because I lost, but my team did not. We drew that match, so still in the contention for the glory, let's say, during the last day. So I myself, after this game, were at 2 out of 5. Our team had scored 4 wins and 1 draw. So yeah, pretty much I would have to step up my game in the last day to help out my team. Did it happen? You will find out tomorrow. As you can tell from my face, I'm not too happy covering those games to you guys because I am just so disgusted with myself, but I guess sometimes it is what it is. Yeah, as of now I don't have any more to comment on. I tried to take out the lessons in the meantime while commentating on the games for the future. As of now, thank you for watching. I hope that you at least enjoyed that a little bit, and if so, please remember to leave a like. We'll see each other tomorrow for the last episode of this tournament, rounds number 6, 7, and the summary of the whole tournament, so stay tuned for it. As of now, thank you all, bye bye.